Cortland Simmons with you here at the CS Racing Report. A trifecta of preps in the lead up to the Kentucky Derby were contested this past weekend. Three great races, including a major upset where a King, of course, is starting his new regime, and we'll see how far that regime or how long that regime will last on this road to the Roses that culminates at Churchill Downs in historic Louisville, Kentucky. Let's first get into the Gotham Stakes at the Flat Mile at Aqueduct in Ozone Park in Queens, New York. Mischievous Alex was coming in off of two impressive wins, one by 10 at Parks and the other, the Swale Stakes at Gulfstream by 7. So he was coming here expecting to flash that speed. That's exactly what he did as he tracked War Story through quarters of 23.54, 47.26 for the half, 112.50 for the three quarters. He was able to kick into the lead, left War Story. My description is he was alert, left War Story behind after tracking him at the 3.5 furlong mark. And basically, it was a case of a chase and a sprint to home. Catch me if you can. He was able to hold off both Untitled and Attachment Rate to win by 2 in 138.80 for the 8 furlongs. Montauk Traffic, the horse that I picked out of the Linda Rice barn, the winner of the Jimmy Winkfield, was 4th. And then, of course, you see the rest of the order of finishes. Rice, her runners finished 4th and 8th, respectively, and she's going to have to go back to the drawing board and see if the feasibility level is high enough to keep these horses on the Derby trail. Meantime, for the winner, Mischievous Alex, trained by John C. Service of Smarty Jones fame, the Smarty Party, brother of Jason Service, who, of course, his maximum security was disqualified from the 2019 Derby, recent winner of the Saudi Cup, the first edition of that. He's a horse who's into mischief, by a Speightstown mare, so that screams speed and not a ton of stamina, but Into Mischief has been getting these two-turn horses, and we're going to talk a little bit more about him before this telecast is done. But he wins by 2. That 138.80 is going to jump off the page for a lot of people looking at the Wood Memorial, a race in which John Service at first wasn't 100% committed to, but it looks as though he is going to pencil Mischievous Alex into that 9 furlong prestigious prep for the Kentucky Derby, see if he can qualify for the run for the Roses. He's a horse that definitely has speed and more speed. How far can he carry it? That's the burning $64 question with Mischievous Alex. I thought that Mark Cassie's Untitled ran very, very well, but steadily, got good position, even kind of hung in the stretch. We're going to see if that race is an indicator that he really isn't going to go much further than what you ask him to, and therefore he's off, not a serious Derby contender, or he's going to say, he's going to improve and tell the world that, this race was a means to an end and that he's going to get better. Attachment Rate, he closed, and he also just didn't punch in with that kick that was going to, make up the ground on Mischievous Alex. So the second and third, that was basically the story of them. They just couldn't catch the winner, and the time wasn't overwhelmingly impressive, but nevertheless, Mischievous Alex puts himself in the hunt for the Kentucky Derby. We'll see what the second and third will do. Mischievous Alex wins the Gotham by 2 in 138.80 over Untitled, with Attachment Rate finishing 3rd. Moving on to Tampa for the Tampa Bay Derby. This was the race that had a lot of handicapping options. Todd Pletcher had 3 runners in this race. You had all the big names in here with a number of interesting entrants. Sole Volante was coming in off the local prep for the Tampa Bay Derby, the Sam F. Davis, where he blew out Independence Hall, who was favored coming in from Aqueduct off his wins in the Nashua and the Jerome Mile the first day of the new calendar year. He was the favorite. You had Texas Swing and Market Analysis, and horses like Unrighteous. Those all 3 trained by Todd Pletcher. Spa City had won at 9 furlongs, and I think Unrighteous was second in that race. And it didn't go as exactly as it was planned, as King Guillermo, a horse that I did say, I didn't pick him. I'm not going to say that I did. If you go back to the preview pod, I did say that his numbers were very good. 3rd in the Pulpit Stakes on the turf to Sole Volante. And he was coming in here as a sort of a common, a rivalry was about to be renewed with those two getting on the track. Sole Volante had also run against the Mucho Macho Man winner, Chance It, who had beaten him convincingly in that race at Gulfstream. So there were a lot of basically interchangeable parts of horses having had some common experience against each other in this Tampa Bay Derby. And King Guillermo, ridden very, very smartly by his rider, was stalked. He pounced. on the front runner, which was, of course, Relentless Dancer, who ran actually very, very well, despite setting these torrid or somewhat legitimate fractions. 23.89 for the quarter, 48.16 for the half, 112 flat for the 3/4, 136.40 for the mile as King Guillermo decided to make his decisive move in this race at 49-1. He was able to take over and take command of the race within strides as Chancet was trying to make his bid on the outside. Sole Volante finished second as King Guillermo sprinted away for the upset win by 4 3/4 lengths in a very nice time, 142.63. That's better than a horse we're going to talk about, Authentic, at that same route in the San Felipe Stakes, 142.63. Wins it by 4 3/4 lengths. Sole Volante was 1 3/4 lengths in front of Texas Swing, who was outrun on the turn by the winner, started to come back, started to pound, started to drop back again, not necessarily drop back, but everyone was running hard down the stretch, and then he courageously re-rallied to be able to get the show spot. So it was a good performance. He was all out to basically retain that third spot. He was a half length in front of Relentless Dancer, who set the fractions that King Guillermo was drafting off of, and ran a pretty good race. He basically set the pace, he led, he was game, and he was edged for the show. So really, Texas Swing was working pretty hard to get that show spot. Relentless Dancer could have easily fallen apart and finished way off the board, and he ran a very, very good race. But King Guillermo, very impressive. There's some talk and rumblings that he may just train up to the Kentucky Derby. I don't know if everybody would subscribe to that. They're looking to go in to the Run for the Roses on top without that major 9 furlong prep to prepare for the Kentucky Derby. We'll just have to wait and see what they eventually do. But it was a very, very nice performance by him. And even if this was his only day in the sun, they can say that they won the Tampa Bay Derby, the connections. Again, a really nice performance. Tampa Bay has a tendency, remember Tacitus, to set the new stakes record in 2019. So this is, pretty much typical of Tampa. If you can get over that surface, the times will yield very impressively. 142.63 as King Guillermo gets on the board and punches his ticket from a point standpoint to the Kentucky Derby. We'll see from a fitness and from a tactical standpoint if he does decide to get another race before the Derby, where he fits in with all of the other contenders. Meantime, as we move on to what I alluded to in the preview pod as the feature race, which was the San Vicente Stakes, drew 7 horses, including 2 trained by the masterful Bob Baffert. 1,000 Words, the winner of the Robert B. Lewis, which gave him his 3,000th North American win, was coming in 3 for 3, and Authentic was also coming in undefeated. He had raced erratically or greenly down the stretch where he blew the field out. Despite that, in the Sham Stakes, Son of Into Mischief, just like Mischievous Alex, coming in here with solid credentials, was the slight favorite going in. You had Honor AP, who hadn't run since October the 13th of 2019, did not mount a campaign, a fall campaign, and try to win the Eclipse Award, even prepare for this Derby trail. John Sheriff's trainer Zenyatta and Tiago, and 2005 Derby winner Giacomo fame is the conditioner. He was coming in only off of 2 races, career starts, where he basically showed completely contrasting running styles, coming from off of it after breaking slowly in the first race, and then showing front-running tactics in winning in breaking his maiden. This race, he sort of sat back in the San Felipe. As I describe it, he was inside, made a strong bid toward Authentic, and it was also very, very steady through the stretch, clearly second place as we look at the winning margins and the times and the splits. As I said, again, Authentic was setting the fractions 22.84, 46.71, 111.32 for the 3/4. So 22.84 for the quarter, 46.71 for the half, 111.32 for the 3/4. Slowed down a little bit. The mile was still legit, 136.89. Final clocking as Authentic stays undefeated was 143.56, a little slower than King Guillermo's time down in Tampa. 143.56 for the 8.5 furlongs as he wins by 2 1/4 lengths over Honor AP, who was 3.5 lengths in front of Breeders' Cup Juvenile winner Storm the Court, who was a clear 5.5 lengths in front of 1,000 Words, who was a big disappointment in this race. If you look at the description beyond Storm the Court, let's look at him. He stalked He made a bid on the turn, and it was clearly outrun for second as AP Indy, or as AP Honor AP streaked clear and separated himself from Storm the Court to go after the winner, which was in the end was a chase in futility, but a very solid race for a horse with only 2 career starts and hadn't run since October of the previous year. 1,000 words of description on him. Basically, he came out of there. He was forwardly placed. He was in a nice position, tracking Authentic on the inside. And then right 3 furlongs out, he started dropping back, as Frank Miramonte called it. He was starting to lose ground. And from that point on, he retreated, and that was the end of him. And there's 1,000 reasons to believe now any suspicions or doubts, which I, and along with quite a few others had, about his ability to accelerate, that is he a horse that can get beyond the grinder status, were answered in a very negative way in this race. And one or two things are going to happen. Either Bob Baffert's going to say, we're going to change our tactics, stay home, run against Authentic again in the Santa Anita Derby, where we know or feel confident that the distance is going to suit him, or we're going to ship out of town and let Authentic fly the flag at home in the Santa Anita Derby, which I think the latter is probably going to be the more likely tactic for 1,000 words. And he's going to have to improve rapidly, because he dropped back. He was beating 11 lengths in this race. And once he, let go of the bit with 3 furlongs out, he was basically chasing he was basically just trying to finish without really injuring himself at this point. He was wrapped up, and he just never really threatened in this race. It was just really kind of a startling development. Wrecking Crew, and of course you see the rest of the order were the horses that unsurprisingly rounded out the full order of finish for this San Felipe Stakes, which I said before was a very impressive performance by Authentic, and like all the others, can try to make it to the starting gate for the Kentucky Derby. The question is, how far can he carry that pedigree again? He is out of a mare that, that cries a little bit more speed than stamina. And Into Mischief is a horse that is starting to get those 2 turners. And one thing he has going for him, he is in the hands of a great conditioner in Bob Baffert. And it seems as though the earplugs eliminated some of the quirks and some of the issues of him gawking and reacting negatively to the crowd in the Sham Stakes. So that was the question, whether he would straighten his act out. He was emphatically able to do that, and it looks like the skies and his future are very, very blue and bright. The Santa Anita Derby is going to be very interesting. A lot of people are going to cash their chips on Honor AP to appreciate the distance. He's by Honor Code, who is a son of AP Indy, so we know that from a pedigree standpoint, that distance seems to be, is going to be a close friend of his, and he is going to appreciate that added ground in the Santa Anita Derby. Question will be is, how much will he really appreciate it? Is it going to still be enough to close the gap and maybe even be able to turn the tables on Authentic? Because it looks like Authentic wants to run as far as they ask him to, and that pedigree is going to yield something of what I call an upgrade with his performance. So very, very good performance here. I would have to say that King Guillermo was probably the most impressive from a time standpoint. Technically, the way he beat what I thought was a better field from top to bottom, even if a lot of them didn't have a lot of resume going into this race in what we call back class, compared to maybe a little bit of the more known entities that were in the San Felipe. But to be honest with you, the San Felipe field, first of all, there was only 7 horses. And even though the horses have a little bit of name cachet in terms of the wins and races they've run in, I can tell you the Tampa Bay Derby field, quite a few of those horses, you'll see them at least try to contend going on. And I think maybe a few of them will make the Derby. But I think from top to bottom, even with the light resumes, there were more interesting horses in there. And I think King Guillermo deserves a lot of credit for being able to conquer that field. Sole Volante ran his race. I think that if anything, we really didn't learn any much more about him other than the fact that he is legitimate against any group of horses. Now the question will be going the added distance no matter who shows up. If that's what really, not necessarily cost him, the winner was clearly the best, but if that's something that he's crying to get, which is more distance, because he was going just about the same route as the Sam Davis, this was an opportunity to see where his performance in that race stacked up against new horses, and he did very, very well. He was running strongly at the end, so it looks like to me that the added distance may be maybe not only a difference maker against King Guillermo, but it will put him in a position, should he relish it the way he's running these last two races, in a spot and in a position to contend for the Kentucky Derby. To me, he looks like that this race was really more of a what I would call a fitness tightener and, like I said, an evaluator of where he was sat with other horses versus it being, can he go that distance? He certainly proved, if you had any doubts that he could, that a mile and a 16th is not a problem. It's going a little bit further is either going to be either an issue or something that he's been really crying to get, which is that attic ground that a lot of people think Honor AP wants as well. And we're going to find out if the winners of these races, Mischievous Alex, Authentic, and King Guillermo, are going to appreciate attic ground should King Guillermo run in one more prep leading to the Kentucky Derby. With those questions abound, we're going to certainly try to answer those when we, of course, get into the previews of our upcoming races leading to the Road to the Roses right here at the CS Racing Report.